Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. I'm Rochelle Batiste with the details. With the pervasive threat of climate change to the natural environment and societies, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves on NBC Radio face-to-face program today said St. Vincent and the Grenadines has to work together with other nations to deal with the matter, noting that as small island developing states, our voices must be heard so that we do not get overwhelmed by the harmful effects of climate change.
It's a big existential issue. If we have to try to keep global warming by 2050 below 1.5 degrees Celsius, the increase over pre-industrial levels. That's what we have to do. 1.5 degrees. The way you say 1.5 to stay alive.
Yes, Prime Minister.
But the recent report from the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel shows that in 10 years' time, we are going to have above 1.5 degrees, the increase in global warming, above pre-industrial levels. Not generally, but episodically, at periods of time now, which is going to bring about humongous climate changes for these islands. It affects agriculture, it affects marine life, it affects the coast, it affects the rivers, forestry, rainfall. So you have to engage the world. You have to engage the world because of the knock-on effect of Ukraine. What is happening in Ukraine with the increase in prices and disruptions of supplies. You feel it in the gas pump. You feel it in the electricity bill. Colville?
Yes, Prime Minister. Understand.
These are huge issues. Meanwhile, of course, a lot of people involved in puny fights about this or that. I normally call those, increasingly I'm calling these puny fights. Two bald-head men fighting over a comb.
That's one way to put it, Prime Minister.
Some meaningless kind of fights now. Huh?
On the sanctions against Venezuela by the United States government, PM Gonsalves said the sanctions have a collateral effect, bringing harm to Venezuela and other countries, particularly in relation to the Petrocaribe agreement.
And Venezuela is finding some ways to get around the sanctions, but the sanctions have affected adversely. The Petrocaribe agreement brought it to its knees, and we're trying to see how we could get around certain things, but it's very difficult, very challenging. You see my point? And we, on that one matter, what Trump did, and which Biden has kept going, and I will raise it again with the Americans when we meet the Vice President of the United States on June the 8th, CARICOM that is, in the Bahamas. It is a vital matter. We have lost annually $10-15 million US because I'm talking about on the Petrocaribe agreement alone. These things are very painful, and you have to struggle with all of those challenges as a small island developing state while you're dealing with the multitude of problems internally. People, divisiveness, people don't want having restraint and going to crime, with impulses from all kind of different sources. As one evangelical pastor said 4 weeks ago, I was at a funeral in Park Hill. He said, the cause of crime is sin. Therefore, it follows that when the leader of the opposition tell you he's going to cleanse the country of crime within 5 years if you give him a chance, well, I guess he would have stopped Cain from killing Abel.
I understand what you're saying, Prime Minister.
And Christ died on the cross, and the resurrection took place for our redemption. But we are all sinful. But no, he's going to do one better. He's going to just wipe the slate clean. What a magician, eh? That's the kind of foolishness you get for political discourse from some quarters in this country.
The installation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines' first MRI machine at its module base at the Georgetown Modern Medical Complex has been proceeding well. This is according to Prime Minister Gonzalez, who said the 2 persons who came from the manufacturers of the machine to help with its installation are expected to leave the state shortly. However, another team will be coming to conduct training with local professionals, including the Cubans, who will be operating the machine.
You notice how systematically we are doing this work, and we set the date for the 29th that we could hopefully launch, do a formal thing at the time when we celebrating the 5th anniversary of the opening of modern medical, Carnival.
Yes, Prime Minister. That's the 29th of June.
29th of June. But if all the pieces, as they say, if all the ducks are not lined up properly in a row, a week after that, 2 weeks after that, the point is this: we are in the same ballpark and we are on our way. A very important test came on Saturday because the generator system was put in place and the machine had been switched on, and electricity went in the Georgetown area on Saturday, just Saturday gone here, for 6 hours, and everything went smoothly with the generator system and the machine. The machine is a highly sophisticated and sensitive piece of machinery,
Yes.
So it had an early test. Well, I'm hoping, I've had discussions with Vinlec at the highest level with the CEO to make sure that certain things are in order and fluctuations and you know what I mean?
I understand what you mean, Prime Minister, yes.
What I can do is to raise the issue and get the assurance from the professionals that they're doing everything now.
On the National Road Program, funded by a loan of $120 million from Taiwan, BM Gonzalez said all of the administrative arrangements have been put in place and the rollout of the program is expected to commence after June 20th.
And this is going to, they're hoping that they could finish all of this within 3 years to spend the money. It would be a bit of a stretch, but if you have to go over 4 years, so be it. They're working out with OECC, the construction company from Taiwan, Republic of China and Taiwan, where they're, the cost of things, because they have to put the contract in order now. And then BRAGSA are getting some, and OECC and BRAGSA, they will have to hire subcontractors. You see what I mean? And there may be some, as we go along, the other contractors, independent, can get. But there are lots and lots of roads to be done. And we have the resources. The question is whether there's the private sector capacity to do many of these things. We're putting it to the limit, Carnival.
The Prime Minister also said on radio today that a separate road program under the National Disaster Management Project financed through the Caribbean Development Bank, which will see road work carried out in the Perseverance-Dixon area, is expected to commence in July, and that a consultation will be held next Tuesday at the Dixon Primary School to inform residents about the work program. He also made mention of the handing over of 3,000 Asus Chromebook computers and funding for the 2023 Civil Development Project, which will take place this Friday. He further noted that a delegation from Saudi Arabia will be visiting St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Fisherman's Day, May 29th, and will be signing some agreements with the government of SVG. Other upcoming national activities highlighted by the Prime Minister on radio today include India Arrival Day and the final ceremonial sitting of the House of Assembly at its present site in capital Kingstown.
Remember, he spoke about the approval which we had from the Saudi fund for just below you, up in Bellevue, where we're going to build, is going to end up costing close to $20 million EC. soft loan from Saudi Arabia, a cultural artistic production hub, and we're going to do a satellite hub, much smaller one, not with as many features, down at Pediatric. In fact, on Wednesday next week at Cabinet, I gave the okay yesterday for the architects to make a presentation as to the one down in Pediatric, because they had made a conceptual one in relation to the one at Bellevue already, and work is being done on the detailed design. So the Saudis are coming on the 29th. They'll meet them out at the airport. They'll just come for the dinner. So I'll get time to do Fisherman's Day still.
Okay.
Even though I'm a bit late. Then the Thursday the 1st is an important day for two reasons. In the afternoon, beginning at 4 o'clock, we're going to have what would be the final sitting, ceremonial sitting of the House at the site in Kingston. Okay?
Okay.
And more information will come on that. And on that day, the 1st, I want everybody to remember, and I'm sure you'll talk about it, because your foreparents came here as indentured laborers, indentured servants, just like my foreparents had come but earlier.
Yes, Prime Minister.
That's Indian Arrival Day.
Yes.
I want everybody to remember that and the importance of the Indian ancestry and the Indian civilization to the contribution to our Caribbean civilization. And just to say, since I'm on, to say that on the 4th, Sunday the 4th is when you're doing the reenactment at 8 o'clock at Indian Bay.
On the final ceremonial sitting at the House of Assembly in capital Kingston, a news release issued today by the Agency for Public Information said after the special final sitting on June 1st at the 200-year-old building in Kingston, Parliament will convene at the new temporary headquarters in Calico, which was built at a cost of over $4 million EC dollars. The API says the temporary headquarters will later be converted into a students' hostel upon completion of the new Parliament building and Hall of Justice at Beachmont. In the meantime, the Government Information Agency says historically sensitive restorative work will begin on the Parliament building and courthouse in capital Kingston. It says construction work on the new Parliament and Hall of Justice at Beachmont is expected to commence later this year, with approximately $4.5 million to be spent on advancing relocation, restoration, design, and construction relating to the new Parliament building and court complex. In other news now, we hear that this country's Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labor, Soboto Caesar, who is in Cuba, held discussions with various policymakers of the Cuban government to address bilateral cooperation opportunities in agriculture and fisheries between Cuba and SVG. A news release from the ministry says the government of the Republic of Cuba has pledged to provide technical experts in agriculture and fisheries for the furtherance of the development of the agriculture sectors of both countries. The ministry says a memorandum of understanding outlining the cooperation frameworks is expected to be drafted shortly. President of the Republic of Cuba, Miguel Mario Diaz-Canal, visited St. Vincent and the Grenadines in December 2022 and discussed a number of joint opportunities to ensure food security and sovereignty. Minister Caesar explained to the meeting that the agriculture sector in St. Vincent and the Grenadines has transitioned from a monocrop bananas to a diversified production platform, and that the country's aim is to establish a coalition for the advancement of agriculture here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Minister Caesar is also expected to meet with livestock experts in Cuba, which is world-renowned for its agricultural technicians who have provided support to many developing countries seeking to obtain food security. According to the ministry, Caesar's visit to Cuba seeks to develop several ideas in food production addressed during the president's visit to SVG. And the World Pediatric Project completed its first scoliosis clinic for the year last Sunday, May 14, 2023. The clinic was held at the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital, and a total of 37 children were assessed by the WPP scoliosis team, which was led by Sergeant Dr. James Bennett. The team also received local assistance and support from Dr. Charles Woods, Dr. Jasmine Ellis, and a few local nurses. A news release said after careful discussion and planning, the team scheduled and successfully completed a total of 8 spine surgeries that took place in a span of 4 days between May 16th and May 19, 2023. There were 5 regional families that attended the clinic amongst the overall 37. 2 were from Dominica and 3 from Grenada. The WPP said the team has expressed their enthusiasm and excitement in completing another mission that will ultimately improve the lives of Caribbean children and their families. The family of the late Garth Saunders paid touching tributes to him at his funeral service yesterday at the Kingston Methodist Church. Saunders, who gave 39 years of his life in the public service here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, died at age 63 on May 14th, just mere 6 months after he retired from the Central Water and Sewage Authority, the CWSA, where he had served for 18 years as a chief executive officer. Saunders' oldest son Sean delivered the eulogy at the funeral service. He described his beloved father as a problem solver and a jack of all trades.
And that's exactly what he did, solve problems, not just professionally, but real-life conundrums. It explains the scores of persons I know, and some I personally don't really know, who have expressed their deep admiration for a man they consider a great leader and mentor. James was remarkable, yet he was a simple man. He was a jack of all trades, master of each. It is no surprise that he was a Libra, able to balance the scales of life and find greater perspective in every situation. He was not one for pomp and circumstance. He would absolutely loathe the idea of upsetting the apple cart just to honor his name. His legacy is cemented and will outlive us all, fittingly so, as he believed that your reputation and good name were paramount. See Proverbs verse 1. A good name is to be valued over riches and gold.
Saunders' sister Michelle Saunders Calvary spoke of his work in the conceptualization, construction and early operation of the Argyle International Airport, in which he also served as the first chairman of the board of directors for 6 years. She also highlighted his accomplishments in bringing clean drinking water to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as the CEO of the Central Water and Sewage Authority, and his overall love for his homeland, St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Like so many other Vincentians, Garth could have worked in any other country. Instead, he chose St. Vincent and the Grenadines because he was a Vincy to the bone, a bona fide son of the soil. So Garth set about thinking of his country and what his training could effect. Earthworks and emancipation. An emancipation that now allows unrestricted freedom of movement via air. Our pride, Wendell's and mine, is for our dear departed brother, and it is profound. Garth's work bore fruit because he was methodical, and he left no stone unturned when it came to ensuring the safety and well-being of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. If we but pause for a moment to consider this, it is no small undertaking to ensure potable water supply for a nation's people. It definitely is no insignificant or inconsequential matter overseeing the design and construction of what would later become an international airport, even in the face of a language barrier.
Saunders is also survived by his widow Simone, his other son Arian, and brother Wendell. Saunders, a civil engineer by training, served on many other boards here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, including the parent company of SVG-TV, SVG Broadcasting Corporation Limited. We thank him for his service. May his soul rest in peace. Omnibus drivers and others who operate public transportation here in SVG are being warned not to endanger the lives of other Vincentians through reckless driving. The warning comes from the head of the traffic department of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, ASP Panel Brown, on the Police Beat program this week on NBC Radio. Expressing concern about the traffic laws that are being broken by some drivers, ASP Brown said he, however, has confidence that these drivers are capable of returning to law-abiding citizens.
So, it means that they can change, and they will have to change. I am sending this message to the public service transport drivers. You have to change. You have to change. No, I'm not saying that the police will be able to catch every person or every offender who infringe on the traffic laws and regulation. But as long as it has been brought to the police attention, we will investigate and we will bring charges against you in cases where charges have to be brought against you. So I am advising the owners and operators of public service transport or transportation, please obey the laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Be a law-abiding citizen. What is for you, you will get it. If you have to make $50 for the day, the $50 will be yours. Don't try to make $250 and putting our citizens' life in danger when you're only supposed to make $100.
Sergeant Kenny Jones, also of the traffic department, who was also on the program, advised drivers involved in road accidents to desist from removing their registration number plates from their vehicles, as they can be charged with an offense.
No, that is not legal, because accident occur on the public road, and once the motor vehicle is on the public road, the law said that your vehicle should have affixed to the front and the rear 2 identification mark. So we noticed that this has become a practice as well, and we want persons involved in accident to desist from this practice, because once the police get there and there's no registration plates, or which is the identification mark on that motor vehicle, they could be charged for not having, even though the accident already occurred on the road, they can be charged for not having affixed to that vehicle the identification mark.
Meanwhile, members of the traffic department today hosted an exhibition outside the Central Police Station in capital Kingston, educating members of the public on some road safety tips. Speaking with SVG-TV News, the head of the traffic department, ASP Panel Brown, said that the exhibition is part of their Road Safety Week of activities being observed under the theme, Road Safety is Everyone's Responsibility.
Police going into the schools, reminding the schools as to how the children can make themselves safer while using our roads, how to use our pedestrian crossing, what they ought to do when the police is directing the traffic. That continue throughout the week. That will continue throughout the week until Friday. Tuesday we have our force whistle. We had our force whistle stop from Kingstown to Georgetown. That was well received. We went through Mesopotamia. Everyone welcomed the initiative and said that it was timely because of the kind of recklessness that is occurring on our roads in the absence of the police. Today we have our showcase day in front of the police barracks, where we're showcasing what we're advocating. No text while driving, no cellular phone while driving, no reckless, careless, or dangerous driving. All these things we are telling you not to do on our roads. It can cause life, serious injuries, and damage to properties.
ASP Brown used the opportunity to urge citizens who feel their constitutional rights were infringed upon by any motorist to report the matter to the police.
You have a listening ear in the traffic department. You're riding in a public service transport and they're playing the music that wants to kill you and deafen your ear. Report the matter to the police. If you tell them to lower your music and they want to put you out the vehicle, report the matter to the police. The police is your friend, you know, everywhere you go. So, I'm advising persons of the general public, do not keep the information to yourself and say that the police is not doing anything. The police will not be able to act appropriately if they doesn't have the information. So I'm advising the general public, members of the general public, whenever you see an infringement, it puts your lives in danger, your brother, your sister, your mother, everybody in your family life in danger. It might not happen to you today, but the day when it happened to you, what are you going to say? Report any infringement or any inappropriate behavior. You see the conductor stopping, the driver stopping by a shop, and the conductor run out to buy 2 Guinness because he and his buddy spending half the owner for the van money that they make. It is illegal for them to be drinking while operating the omnibus, the public service transport. Report the matter to the police.
The other activities which will be held for Road Safety Week include a caravan to the leeward side of the island tomorrow, Thursday, May 25th, and a march and rally in capital Kingston on Friday, May 26, 2023. In some Carnival news now, we hear that Calypso speaks for the oppressed, the voiceless, educates, entertains, and enlightens the people. This is according to President of the Calypsonian Association, Earl Cabot Bennett, at a media conference today at the Carnival Development Corporation conference room, as he encouraged Vincentians to come out and support the Calypsonian tents for Vincy Mars 2023. Bennett noted that there will only be 4 Calypso tents participating in this year's festival, namely On Tour, Dynamite in New York, Upstage, and the Graduate Calypso tents.
We have political commentary, we have humorous calypso, whatever it is there for your enjoyment. People have different styles of singing their calypso, people have different voices. There's one thing they have in common: they are there to educate and entertain you. The tents have decided this year that they will all charge $20. We know some persons may say times are difficult, but it's also difficult for the tents. And I say this to you, and I've always said it, that when you're a Calypsonian, for the most part, you are in an exercise of a labor of love. At the end of the Carnival season, the Calypso season, most Calypsonians don't get a penny, but it's still toil in the vineyard to ensure that there's a Vincy Mass. Sponsorship is difficult at times, so we have to honor and acknowledge those who, irrespective of the situation and circumstances, give to the Calypso fraternity.
The Dynamite Calypso tent, which is based in New York, launched its opening Calypso event on May 19th and would host its preliminary judging event on June 10th. Speaking at today's media conference, Representative John Duggan said so far the tent has a cast of 9 Calypsonians, with more to be added.
This year, the Dynamite Calypso tent will also be donating 12 trophies for the Junior Calypso and Soca Monarch competition in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Yep, that's nice. One of the trophy is dedicated in the memory of Vincent Groovy Kennedy. One is dedicated in the memory of Franklin Superdex Richards, both ex-presidents of the Dynamite Calypso tent. They are gone, but not forgotten. And also one in the honor of Errol de Manage Rose for his sterling contribution in the Calypso art form. Yeah, we are asking the calypso lovers and carnival lovers in the diaspora to please come out and support this worthy cause. You know, Dynamite Calypso Tent is bringing culture to you from SVG and all over. So we are asking for your support.
And the Upstage Calypso Tent has already begun rehearsals and has finalized its cast for this year's Calypso season. Listing over 18 Calypsonians who are part of the tent this year, Representative Orandi Charles said that the cast will feature veteran Calypsonians, young upcoming Calypsonians, soca acts, and raga soca acts.
Yours truly will be there as well to provide some entertainment with the Upstage Festival band. You know, we like to have a time after the Calypsonians have graced the stage. We like to have a little after party, and I'm always privileged to share the stage with some amazing musicians as we pay homage to some of the hits of yesteryear, and of course debuting new material as well. So I'll be there along for the ride. The dates for the 2023 season: May 31st is our first opening event at the Russell's Auditorium. June 7th, we will be back at the Russell's Auditorium. June 10th, we will be way out over the river, as they say, in Sandy Bay, which we always enjoy. June 14th, we're back at the Russell's for the preliminary show. And June 17th, we will be in North Leeward, in the North Leeward community. We haven't been there in a while, so we're coming back this year. So we're taking Calypso out into the communities as we try to do in our effort, making our contribution to the preservation and the promotion of the art form. We're also extending our availability. I would like to implore persons who are organizing rural carnival activities to take advantage of the availability of Upstage Calypsonians and other Calypsonians as well. Some of our Calypsonians, Upstage Calypsonians, will be participating in an event in the South Leeward Carnival where we'll have pan and calypso and traditional activities and so on.
We will hear more from the Calypso Tents participating in Vincy Mass this year in tomorrow's newscast.